to the hidden meanings. I have a very special guest here today, and I want to introduce him. Up from Florida to be at a wedding, a family wedding, and I was sitting at the wedding, and I will tell you now, so you can all groan and say, "Ooh, I had a severe toothache, and I had a tooth pulled this week." Oh, thank you very much. And but when at the wedding, this guy danced every dance: the chicken, the Macarena, the electric slide, and I mean, you know, it was something. But he's very special. He's getting ready to drive back to Florida right now, and I wanted to bring him up and introduce him. He's in his 92nd year, and it's Joan's father, Ray. Sister, so would you stand? Come up here now. So we want to introduce him. 90 in his 92nd year, and as I said, he did every dance. We had him down to Atlantic City, and we couldn't keep up with him, up and down the stairs, and he's one in a million, and we love him, and we just wanted to share him with you. And drive slow getting back.
Oh yeah, I'm in Atlantic City late last night.
Yeah, keep him up late, and it doesn't bother him. So when you're talking to him, you're not talking to anybody 92.
You're say something so I can.
You want to say something?
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with Billy and.
Welcome again to Hidden Meanings, and let me explain the nature of this program and what occurred. When I had introduced Joan's father on the program, somehow my hand came down and hit the switch, which caused the sound to go off, and that was the end of that. There was no more sound for the message that I gave, and I felt that the message was significantly important, that it was necessary to do this again. And then I thought, well, it would be a good time to go back and look at some of the key elements of this message together again, and make sure that we have it down. So and I thought we'd kind of do it one-on-one, you know, just me and you, and taking a look at it. I don't want to get bogged down in worrying about consciousness or left and right hemispheres, and so I wanted to concentrate on the actual cosmic happenings, you know, things that are really occurring now in the world of astronomy and in the realm of discoveries that are being made. And I wanted to focus on how the scriptures can actually be proved and shown to be preludes to the fulfillment of these things that we're experiencing now. In other words, I don't want to get too wordy about conscious thought and spiritual implications. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had it up to here, and I think we all have. We've all been through thousands of lectures or words from religion and New Age. Let's get on with it and see what's really happening and what we can make of all of this. In Revelation 19:11, the second coming of Christ is portrayed as occurring with the white horse. And there's a statement that says, "Behold, heaven opened, and I saw a white horse." And that this white horse would bring forth to us the second coming of Christ. In Revelation 6, it states that the horse, this white horse, sets out to conquer. Well, the white horse is a symbol of God, is a symbol of good, is a symbol of purity, is a symbol of spirit. So then that which would be conquered would be evil, darkness, disease, etc. I wanted each of you, especially those who have the material, I provided you with documentation. I provide scientific documentation of everything that we say here. Nothing is ever said here unless we provide scientific documentation. And I want you to have your documentation out as you follow along in this tape. You should, at this writing, have up to page 104 in documentation. That's critical that you have that. And if you do, then the first thing you should do is turn in that material to page 34. And there on page 34, you'll see a reference to the hippocampus of the brain. This is the premise here. Can we show that the hippocampus of the brain, which is the place of memory in the brain, the hippocampus, can we show that the hippocampus is the same as Pegasus? If we can show that the hippocampus of the brain is the same as Pegasus, then the references to the white horse in the Bible and Jesus coming on the white horse, and the references to Pegasus in the Bible and in the myths of the Greeks can have tremendous implications to us, because now we can focus on the hippocampus of the brain, which is the place of memory. Now, in the Bible, it talks about the white horse in the sky. The only white horse in the sky is Pegasus. And curiously, the Bible was written by the Greeks, who also wrote the mythology about Pegasus. So it's curious, in the Bible, written by Greeks, we have a white horse in the sky. And in the mythology written about Greeks, by Greeks, we have Pegasus, the white horse, in the sky. Our first evidence connecting the hippocampus and Pegasus would have to be that the word hippocampus means seahorse. Pegasus, the horse, had for his father Poseidon, who is the god of the sea. Poseidon, the god of the sea, is the father of Pegasus, making Pegasus a seahorse. The hippocampus of the brain, the place of memory, means seahorse. The word means seahorse. Now, in the myths and in the Bible, Pegasus is a white horse. If you look on page 34 of the material that I have given you, you'll see that the hippocampus of the brain is a white eminence. In other words, it's a white seahorse. And Pegasus is a white seahorse. So, you know, we've got some pretty good evidence here to connect the two, which then gives tremendous importance to the mythology of Pegasus and to the Bible statements concerning the white horse. See, I mean, we're discovering so much. We're on the verge of so many wonderful things and discoveries. And these discoveries will culminate when the great light comes down from nova. And, you know, the supernova 1987A, the center eye is on fire now, and the scientists say that the magnetism, the light from supernova, will reach the Earth around 2002. It says in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 4, "But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." That's an end time statement in Daniel. Knowledge shall increase. And here in Revelation chapter 6, when seal 1 is opened, the white horse is conquering. Well then, through what? Through knowledge. And how much have we seen in the conquering of disease and overcoming darkness? I mean, gosh, it was just in the dawning of the Aquarian age, the cusp of Aquarius, 100 years ago, that we invented a light bulb. So we conquered darkness. We're conquering disease. There's so many things. And remember, the white horse is Pegasus, showing forth a tremendous increase in knowledge, because Pegasus is a constellation located in the zodiacal sign Aquarius, and knowledge increases in the time of Aquarius, which is the time of consciousness. What we want to do with the white horse now is concentrate on the fact that it is the biblical symbol for the great second coming of Christ. Regardless of whether one is a fundamentalist or not, there is little question that Christ is supposed to return on this white horse. Now, we've connected the white horse, Pegasus of the myths, and we've connected the white horse with the hippocampus of the brain, which is the place of memory. All right? Here it is, 1998. It was in December of 1995 that the discovery was made. And if you look on page 88 of the material that you were given, you look on the back of that page 88, you'll see that a discovery was made by two scientists in Switzerland. One was Didier Queloz, and the other was Michael Mayer. They discovered a sun in the sky, out of the solar system, that was a twin of the sun in our solar system. And orbiting the sun star was a planet, and that had never been seen before. Now, remember, the Bible is telling us that look for something in the sign of the white horse, Pegasus. And there in December of 95, these two scientists, for the very first time in the history of the world, discovered a planet orbiting a sun that was a twin of ours outside of our solar system in the constellation Pegasus. That was a substantial thing that happened. In the Bible, it says something would be happening in the sky, and the signal would be the white horse. And then here we have the discovery of the first planet ever found outside of our solar system, located in Pegasus, the sign of the white horse. The Pegasus sprang from the neck of his mother, Medusa. Do you remember Medusa from the myth? Medusa had a head full of snakes. Now, there was no Medusa. There's no Pegasus as far as being a horse is concerned. But Medusa represents, with her head filled with snakes, all of those thoughts that scare you, all of those things that put you into guilt, and all of those things that scream inside of you that cause disease. And what it's saying is, when those thoughts are cut away, then Pegasus, the hippocampus, the place of memory, can ascend up to the higher places inside of you, the higher places of God consciousness, the higher places of Christ consciousness. But it can't happen until the thoughts are cut away. Can't happen until the fears and the guilt and all of these nasty thoughts are cut away, which symbolize the cutting away of the head of Medusa, freeing Pegasus. And now we know Pegasus is the hippocampus of the brain. And how interesting it is that Jesus instructs us in Matthew 6:25 to 6:33 to take no thought. In other words, cut away those thoughts. And how do you do that? You do that in meditation. You cut away the lower thoughts of the mind, and by doing so, you sever the head of Medusa, and Pegasus can spring up from within you. Pegasus was snowy white in color, and that's important. So Pegasus is the white horse. If you look in the mythology of the Greeks, Pegasus is a white horse. If you look in the Bible, Jesus returns on the white horse. And in the human body, what do we find? That the hippocampus of the brain, which we have connected as Pegasus, the seahorse, father is Poseidon. Remember, hippocampus means seahorse. And the father of Pegasus is Poseidon, who is the god of the sea. So if the hippocampus of the brain is Pegasus, we then see that, according to Stedman's medical dictionary, it's a white eminence. So the white horse Pegasus is the place of memory inside of your brain, as well as in the universe. Oh, so here then we have the fact that the hippocampus of the brain, the place of memory, it actually means a white seahorse in which memory is stored and restored. And so then we can certainly identify Pegasus in the sky with Pegasus in the brain. Now there was something else that happened that we should really consider, because it's important in looking at the astronomical discoveries. When the two scientists in Switzerland discovered the planet orbiting the sun star in Pegasus, at that time something else was observed, and that you can find if you look on page 87 of your material. In the Bible, in Revelation chapter 19:14, right after it talks about heaven opened and I saw the white horse, it says in Revelation 19:14 that armies which were in heaven followed Pegasus upon white horses. Now that would mean, thousands upon thousands. At the same time that the scientists discovered the planet in Pegasus in 1995, an article was released from the Associated Press in Washington, and it said, Hubble finds possible evidence of black hole amid Pegasus. Peering deeply into a spot seen from Earth, Hubble Space Telescope has discovered either a black hole in our galaxy or an equal rarity. Now listen to this. Thousands of stars rushing towards the core of a globular cluster. Like bees swarming to their hive, is how the Space Telescope Science Institute described this star's convergence. In the constellation Pegasus, 37,000 light years away, it is a dense star cluster like a mini galaxy. Spectra can tell us how far the stars are moving and whether they are moving toward us or away from us. So here you have not only the discovery of the planet in Pegasus, the first time in the history of the world, which should certainly be a reasonable sign of a fulfillment of the book of Revelation, but here you also have the discovery of thousands of stars swarming like bees, and then Revelation 19:14 saying that armies which were in heaven followed on white horses. So thus we would be looking at activity in the memory bank of the brain. And of course what's interesting about that is you have the constellation Pegasus in the sky, and then you have the hippocampus, which we now show is Pegasus in the brain. And just as the sun affects life and as the moon affects the tides, as the constellations then affect different parts of the body and different parts of the brain, wouldn't it be interesting to consider the Pegasus constellation affecting the hippocampus or the memory bank in the brain, which is also Pegasus? Are they named? Are they the same thing for a purpose? And if so, then it gives a whole new implication, doesn't it, to the book of Revelation and to the very Bible itself, because now we can show things proven that have a connection. Just there are 12 signs of the zodiac and you have 12 cranial nerves in the brain. Now let's talk about Pegasus, and let's start to bring it deeper in the realm of the mythology and see how it connects to us in the realm of meditation and in the realm of considering the operation of the mind. Pegasus was a favorite of the muses. You spell that word M-U-S-E-S. Okay? the muses were 9 daughters of a relationship between Zeus and Mnemosyne. I'm going to spell that one because you might want to look it up. It's M-N-E-M-O-S, whoops, M-E-M-O-S-Y-N-E. What's interesting about that word, Mnemosyne, who is the mother of the muses, is that she was the goddess of memory. Now, the Pegasus is a favorite of the muses, okay? And Mnemosyne, which is the mother of the muses, is the goddess of memory, and we've connected Pegasus as the hippocampus of the brain, which is the place in the brain of memory. There's something else then, too, that's interesting and we have to look at. If you look up the word muse, M-U-S-E, it means to be absorbed in one's thoughts, to engage in meditation. Meditation. Isn't that interesting? Pegasus, the hippocampus of the brain, the place of memory, the white horse. And the connection then to meditation, contemplation. On page 104 of the material that I have given to you, I wanted you to look at some important derivatives of the word muse. It's very important because we are connecting Pegasus with the muses. In other words, we are connecting, if we're connecting Pegasus and the muses, we are also then connecting Pegasus and the muses to the mind, and more particularly to the hippocampus of the brain, which is the place of memory. All right, so this is very important. But if you look at page 104 of that material that I gave you, some of the derivatives that come out are mind, mental, reminiscent, premonition, muse, of course. And what about museum? And what is a museum but a place of memory? Do you see where I'm trying to come to you or come with you, trying to establish a connection here? That when the Greeks were writing these ancient myths, they're writing about a connection between the constellation in the sky, Pegasus, and the human brain, the hippocampus of the brain, the place of memory. So then they go and they connect Pegasus, which is the hippocampus of the brain, and the muses, whose mother is the goddess of memory. And Pegasus to the hippocampus, which means the seahorse, which is Pegasus, which is the place in the brain of memory. So I think we have developed a connection here. I think we have connected the muses to the mind and to memory, and that Pegasus, who is the discovery, the hippocampus, the place of memory, the favorite place of the mind. In other words, Pegasus becomes the catalyst of memory and recollection. Memory being restored out of everything that we have gone through the traditions and the religious and the superstitions. We are restored back to the memory of who we really are, what our purpose really is, what our position here with God consciousness, Christ consciousness is. So let's try to tie this together. I said to you that Pegasus is connected with the muses, okay? So then the point or the thought would be, why? How is Pegasus connected to the muses? The muses, and remember these didn't exist. These are all myths about your head, about your brain, about your mind, and about the universe. The muses lived on the mountain sacred to Apollo. And the mountain was called Mount Helicon. All right? So muses lived on Mount Helicon. Now, here we're bringing another character into this, which is important, and that's Apollo. And what is important about that is because we're not only going to tie in the operation of the brain through the hippocampus and memory and meditation, but now, do you remember when we showed you supernova 1987A, which is a blaze in the skies above us and which has been discovered by Hubble. But remember, we showed you the geometric pattern drawn up by the Greeks thousands of years ago, which fits precisely over the picture of supernova 1987A and is called the harmony of Apollo. And this becomes very important, but you know, we don't want to compound this any more than we have. So let's move on, and we'll get back to that. So Pegasus then is a sacred to the muses who reside with Apollo on Mount Helicon. Now, if you look in your material at page 16b3, all right, the material that I gave, if you look at 16b3, you'll find a word Hippocrene, Hippocrene. The word hippo means horse, the word crene means fountain. It's the horse fountain. And this was the subject of the myth. And the idea is that it was the hoof of Pegasus that kicked and created the fountain of Hippocrene on Mount Helicon. And when the fountain then started to gush forth the waters, then this became a fulfillment of the muses on Mount Helicon. But what is being said here, much more important, it is the hippocampus of the brain, Pegasus, which stimulates the fountain to flow, which stimulates the waters of life to flow from within you. Okay? So now we see basically what's going to happen. Revelation 19:11 stipulates that Christ returns on the white horse. Pegasus, we have determined, is the hippocampus of the brain. The myth tells us that this is sacred to the muses, which we now determined to be the mind, memory. Okay? We'll have recall of the God things and the Christ things, which we have lost through the studies of superstition and ancient religions. Okay? There are 9 muses. Okay? 9 muses. And number 9 is the number of human consciousness. And let me show you how that's done in the Bible. 9 always signifies the brain. In John chapter 21:6, Jesus said, if you want to find, and the subject of the myth is he's fishing. He says, if you want to find, cast your net to the right side. So they throw the net over to the right side of the boat, and how many fish do they catch? 153. Well, if you add 1 plus 5 plus 3, you come up with 9, which is the number of consciousness. It's saying, cast your energy to the right hemisphere of the brain. It's the same when you talk about 666, you know, the evil one. Well, look what the evil one is. It's the lower mind. 666. You add up 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18 equals 9. It's consciousness. And if you look at that scripture in Revelation about 666, right after that, you'll see that 144,000 are saved. Well, you look up 144, you add it up, what do you get? 9, and that's the higher mind. So we're talking about consciousness, and that's why the 9 muses sing. So we have, at this point, I think, really uncovered something which is extremely significant, a breakthrough in an understanding of what is the meaning and intent of ancient scriptures. The Bible is telling us to look for a sign in the white horse in Revelation 19:11. The mythology of the Greeks who wrote that book of Revelation are telling us about Pegasus. Pegasus is the white horse in the sky. 1995, scientists discovered for the first time in the history of the world a planet orbiting a star that is a twin of ours in Pegasus. Significant. And the Bible says armies followed on white horses. And the Associated Press tells us about thousands of stars in Pegasus converging like bees toward a hive. These things have actually happened. But now, more importantly, even than that, what we have done here is we found that the place of memory in the brain is the hippocampus of the brain. The word hippocampus means seahorse. The father of Pegasus was Poseidon, the god of the sea. Thus, the seahorse, the hippocampus, is the Pegasus, is Pegasus. And the hippocampus is the place of memory. Now then, we've just connected the fact that Pegasus is sacred to the muses because he created their fountain on Hippocrene. Okay? And we learned the word muse means the art of meditation. And there are 9 muses, and 9 is the number of consciousness. And that the mother of the muses, Menasme, the mother of the muses is the goddess of memory. And the hippocampus of the brain is the place of memory. Okay. Now let's see what we've got here. I've got the Bible, mythology, the human body. We've got a white horse. In the Bible, the book of Revelation. In mythology, we have the white horse Pegasus. And in the body, the hippocampus, which is the horse and is a white eminence, is the white horse. In memory, in the Bible, the white horse. In mythology, Pegasus. And in the human body, the hippocampus of the brain. The word hippocampus means seahorse, as we've covered here, and it is a white eminence. Jesus rides a white horse in the Bible. Zeus rides Pegasus in mythology. So, you know, there is a significant breakthrough that we've been able to get here of understanding what was the meaning behind these ancient scriptures. And what we're finding here, and what is, to me, I think you'll find, is that we're reaching the point of proving that all of this was written about the mind, memory, meditation. The mind, memory, meditation. The human mind being the place where, through meditation, memory, which restores us to the things of God, if you would, is given. So we've involved Pegasus, the white horse, the constellation, the hippocampus of the brain, the muses, the 9 aspects of the thought process of the mind, whose mother is the goddess of memory, whose the very word museum means the place of memory, who are also defined in dictionaries as the art of meditation. We have Zeus, who intercoursed, the sun god who intercoursed with Menasme, who is the goddess of memory. We have the hippocampus of the brain. And all of these things come together so that we can understand what was written thousands of years ago by people who knew. Now, in order to follow the activities here and what is going on, it is important that you have the documented material that we've provided, and you should have up to page 104. Now, just to make sure that you'll find that you need page 104, page 34 where you'll find about the hippocampus of the brain, page 88 where you have a list of the planetary discoveries which are directly related here, page 16b which shows the hippocampus of the brain as a seahorse, page 16b3 shows the father of Pegasus as Poseidon, the god of the sea. Page 34 again shows the hippocampus as a white eminence, a white horse. Page 16b3 shows you Hippocrene, the place of the fountain of the muses. Remember, it was activated by the of Pegasus. Page 104, Menasme is shown as the goddess of memory, and page 28 shows Zeus and Pegasus. Zeus would ride on the white steed Pegasus and hurl the lightning bolts. And simply all that meant was that through Pegasus, through the hippocampus of the brain, comes the enlightenment from God. Zeus, God; Pegasus, the hippocampus of the brain, the place of memory; the lightning bolts, enlightenment. Enlightenment comes through the hippocampus of the brain, restoring memory to God. Now, the only thing in all of our discussion so far that we could actually say exists would be the Pegasus, the constellation in the zodiacal sign of Aquarius, and the hippocampus of the brain. Someone thousands of years ago wrote about Pegasus and wrote about the Pegasus connection to the muses. And now what we've shown you is that the muses, that word muse means the art of meditation. It has to do with the mind. It has to do with the memory. And Pegasus, the seahorse, which is the hippocampus of the brain, is located directly at the center of your brain and has to do with memory. So Pegasus stimulated the fountain of Hippocrene, which is the horse fountain at Mount Helicon, the place of the muses. The myth tells us that Pegasus would stimulate that flow, which means that the hippocampus, when it is stimulated through meditation, will stimulate or activate the fountain of memory, the fountain of understanding. The waters of enlightenment will flow within you. Now, there is something called Kundalini, and that's difficult for a lot of people in Christian circles to deal with. Kundalini is a spiral energy that rises from the base of the spine and goes upward to impact at the pineal gland of the brain and then throw open the right hemisphere of the brain. As it passes up through the spine, it goes through 7, what the Hindus call chakras, or nerve centers. The Hindus call them chakras. They're actually nerve centers in the spine. Now, though many Christian people have difficulty dealing with Kundalini, it's important to realize that in Revelation chapter 5 and verse 1, the exact same thing is defined in the Christian Bible in the book of Revelation as the book of life. And it says, "And I saw in the right hand," which is the right hemisphere of the brain, "of him who sat on the throne." Now the throne is that highest point of the mind, the highest point of conscious mind. "A book," the book of life, "written within," that's within the human body, "and on the back side," that's referring to the spine, "sealed with 7 seals." So the description of the book of life in the Christian Bible and the Kundalini, as understood by the Hindus, is exactly the same thing. And that's the passageway through the 7 chakras, or the 7 seals of Revelation, or the 7 chakras of the Hindus. So what are we arguing about, you know? But anyhow, we have established that, and then established the fact, and page 104 of the material that you have, that the word muse, M-U-S-E, is indicative of the art of meditation. So we put that along with this spiral energy that flows upward, this DNA type of energy that flows upward from the spine. And you know, it's also seen in the Bible in 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 8, where it talks about the holy place at the right side, the right hemisphere of the brain. And it says that there was a door that led to the most holy place, or the middle chamber, at the right side of the house, and they went up with winding stairs. Well, that's that serpentine or spiral motion that goes up from the base of the spine to the pineal gland. Now, if you look on the material that I gave you on 16b3, you'll see that Pegasus created the fountain of Hippocrene, the horse fountain, for the muses on their mountain, which was Mount Helicon. So here then, we'll be able to show you, I'll get that over a little bit, Mount Helicon. Here we'll be able to show you that there is a real connection. This mountain is sacred to Apollo. And consider the energy that rises in this spiral motion, this DNA pattern, double helix pattern of energy that rises up the spine to the pineal gland. Now here was Pegasus, which we know is the hippocampus of the brain, stirring this fountain at Mount Helicon. The word helicon is from the Greek word helix, which means spiral. So you see the connection here. Everything that we're bringing together, the muses, the art of meditation, the mother of the muses, memory. Now we get to the point of Mount Helicon, which is spiral. So we see that spiral energy raising itself through the spine like it speaks in the seven seals in the book of Revelation, or Kundalini, stimulating at Mount Helicon the Hippocrene, or the horse fountain, which is the hippocampus of the brain, and the fountain gives forth water of new life, new understanding, and memory. Now, Pegasus created the fountain. Now, what is so important about that is it's saying that the fountain of this place of memory in the mind, which brings us back to the things of creation and the universe and God consciousness, Christ consciousness, is stimulated by Pegasus, is stimulated by this horse. And that's what you've got to understand was so important about the discovery of this new planet, the first planet ever seen outside the solar system, orbiting a sun star that was a twin of the sun in our solar system in the constellation Pegasus. In other words, a sign came through of the sky. And then we take it into ourselves, the contact between the constellation Pegasus and the Pegasus inside of you, which is the hippocampus of the brain, which we've shown you. And so there we'll see how now that fountain will be set to flow water because of the time of Pegasus, which we're at now. See the connection with the horse, the hippocampus of the brain, which means seahorse, and Pegasus, and the mind, and meditation. And so then that also brings us to the point that we are breaking the code of the four horses of the apocalypse. If Pegasus is the white horse of apocalypse and has a place in the universe and a place inside of the human brain, then the red horse, the pale horse, and the black horse is likewise. You know, we've seen so many people who have written books about apocalypse and Armageddon and all of these things, and they've made millions of dollars on this stuff. And what they've really done is try to set up these portrayals of fear, and you see these terrible looking things riding on these horses into the war and all this kind of business. And really what's being talked about here are the four horses are the energies inside of the brain, as the white horse is the hippocampus. And that these are the ones that will be subject to that Armageddon, which is the fire or spirit fire, which comes down from the higher realms of consciousness to burn away all of the guilt, all of the fear, and all of the disease and hate. So this is a wonderful time that has been totally misread by those who would sell books about Armageddon to frighten people. Let me show you just how much the myth relates this to meditation and contemplation, so that you can see how, you know, the plan is being fulfilled in this age with a tremendous turn to meditation. I mean, there are meditation in hospitals. People go all over, you know, to the country to different meditation classes and so forth. And this all has to be looked at in the realm of the age of Aquarius and Pegasus. But we know that Helicon is the mountain of the muses, the spiral mountain, the place where the seven seals are revealed, the place where Kundalini is revealed, the place of meditation. Now, watch how we take and connect another story in mythology to this. There was a very handsome fellow, and he was courted by many lovers, but he rejected them all. I mean, he was, you know, he just was kind of consumed with himself. And there was one nymph who really loved him, and her name was Echo, but he turned everybody down. Well, the gods said, yeah, you know, you're just so consumed in the physical realm, they forced him to go to the Mount Helicon. Now remember, this story didn't happen. There was no nymph named Echo. These are all stories of the mind and the universe and how things work and how things are going to work. They forced him to the Mount Helicon, which is the place of memory. It is the place of the spiral. It is the place of meditation. And there he sat by the pond, And day after day he gazed in the pond at a reflection of himself until he wasted away and he died. And when searchers went out to look for him, all they found in the place where he was sitting was a flower. And the flower was called Narcissus. And Echo, who loved him so much, also wasted away pining for him. And she became a voice in the woods. Well, there was a psychological condition known as narcissism. And it's important to understand that in the riddle of Pegasus. Narcissism is an excessive love or admiration of oneself. And so you see, what this person had was an obsession with the flesh. Remember, the whole movement in the world's religions is to overcome the temptations of the flesh, to overcome the lower mind, to overcome the carnal mind, the obsession with the things of the physical. And here, by ascending up the spiral mountain to Helicon, as we ascend up the spiral to the mountain of the horse fountain, the hippocampus of Pegasus, there something wonderful happens. The flesh, the physical, which had not allowed us to love, is taken away, and we are changed and transformed to this beautiful flower. It's a symbol, the flower being a symbol of all things that are new. Behold, old things passed away. All things have become new. You see how beautiful that is? And you see here also that it brings us right to the point then of the transformation that must take place by ascension up to Mount Helicon, up to the spiral mountain, up to the place of the horse fountain, where Pegasus waits then to take us out of the fears and the guilt and the turmoil of Medusa, and when that is cut away, to lift us up into the very bosom of the creative energy of God. So all of this centers itself in the human brain at the point of memory, or the compass of Pegasus. When this energy ascends up to the white eminence or to the white horse, the fountain is created. And the fountain gives forth this water of life, new ideas, new understanding, a restoration of the memories of who we are. What is our purpose? What are we to do? Where are we going? And the white horse then, as it says in Revelation 6, goes about to conquer the fears, to conquer the guilt, to conquer the diseases, to conquer all of these hurts that have been heaped upon us by the systems and the religions of the world. When I think of the fountain of Hippocrene and the hippocampus and the Pegasus fountain inside of us at Mount Helicon, I think of the scripture in Psalm 36:9 that says, "For with thee is the fountain of life, in your light shall we see light." And then in Jeremiah 2:13, "For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living water," up here, "and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water." And then in Revelation 21:6 it says, "And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, and I will give unto him that is thirsty of the fountain of the water of life freely." Freely. But it requires you to sit on that mountain, to climb that spiral mountain through your meditation and stay there and contemplate and wait until the change from the flesh to the flower takes place. The fountain of Hippocrene, which means horse fountain, is the fountain of the hippocampus, which means seahorse. Pegasus' father, the god, the human brain, the fountain of the muses, which is the fountain of the mind, which ascends to the place of the spiral, the winding stairs. All of this from Pegasus. That's why that discovery of the planet orbiting the sun star Pegasus is so important. The beautiful constellation located in the zodiacal sign Aquarius, the man with the pitcher of water. And where did Jesus say that the great Passover from the Old to the new would take place. In Luke 22:10, he says, you shall meet a man bearing a pitcher of water, Aquarius. Follow him to the house where he enters. Which house? The house of Aquarius. It says he'll show you a large upper room furnished, the right hemisphere of the brain, and he says, I'll meet you there. If we had only believed him as much as we believed religion, we would have found him. And this is the time, and though, I know we're not obsessed with a narcissistic type of obsession, hopefully you're committed to a positive meditation, to a positive contemplation at the place of the mountain spiral, Helicon at the Hippocrene, inside of you in the center of your brain, from the pineal gland to the fornix to the hippocampus, for all things become new. Another thing that I wanted to share with you was the 9 muses, because each had a separate activity in the separate mountain. And of course, that there was no such thing really. And once you understand that in mythology, then you can understand in your Bible these stories weren't real either. But the 9 muses had control of a separate activity. And we're on the brink of connecting the mind, the meditation, Pegasus, the muses, Apollo, and supernova 1987A, the single eye, which is the harmony of Apollo. All of this is looking down on us now. It's a great time. What is interesting is when we connect the harmony of Apollo. Now, as I told you earlier in this message, the supernova 1987A is the eye in the sky, and the geometric pattern which was constructed by the Greeks of the ancient times was placed over can be placed over the picture of supernova. It fits it perfectly. It's the harmony of Apollo, see? So if indeed we have connected supernova 1987A with all of this, we can look up and see supernova in 1987 through Hubble. It's there. And we've also understood the fact of connecting the hippocampus and Pegasus and all of these things, and I think we've made a real good case for it scientifically. This is why this meditation is so important, because the muses, which are the 9 aspects of the mind and the brain that we discussed, they lived with Apollo, and they remained young and beautiful forever. Think of that. The mind which provides all things to you becomes young and beautiful forever. Wouldn't you like that? They could see into the future. They had the ability to banish all grief and sorrow. Wouldn't you like that? One of the muses' name was Calliope, the muse of epic poetry. Did you ever see a Calliope? A Calliope is like they have these steam things, they come out of the, like whistles, and they play boop, 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 for merry-go-rounds and things like that. Calliope intercoursed with Apollo and gave birth to a son named Orpheus, O-R-P-H-E-U-S, and Orpheus married a girl named Eurydice. Well, unfortunately, Eurydice died, and she was sent down into the underworld. Well, Orpheus went into the underworld to bring her back. And Orpheus played the lyre, and that's called L-Y-R-E, L-Y-R-E, the lyre, which is if you look in Stedman's medical dictionary, that's Lyra Davidis, which is the fornix brain. And that's very important, and we'll discuss that at a later time. But anyhow, Orpheus played the lyre, so he went to Hades. Now, Hades is the ruler of the underworld, as hell. People say it's hotter than Hades and all this kind of business. Well, his music was so beautiful that they said the rivers used to stop and just listen. The trees would bend towards him. So Hades said to Orpheus, okay, you can go down and get Eurydice and bring her up through the dark underworld, through the winding passageways. But one thing keep in mind, if you look back at her, you'll lose her forever. So Orpheus went down, and he's coming up that dark passageway with Eurydice. And he just about gets to the top to break out into the sunlight, and he can't. He's just got to reach back, and he turns, and he looks, and she falls back into the underworld, and she's gone. Of course, there was no Orpheus, and there was no Eurydice. But what's being talked about here is the fact that as you have the opportunity now to bring that which had died, that which was the beautiful spirit within you, which had sunk down into the lower depths of the flesh and of the physical, you can bring that back up. You can bring it back up by rising up to the music of the muses, up through the spiral mountain to Helicon, to the point of Pegasus. But here's the main thing. As you're in your meditation and as you do your meditation, don't look back. As the Bible says, when you put your hand to the plow, don't look back. Don't look back to the things of the past, to the religions of the past, to the doctrines of the past, because if you do, you'll lose that which you're trying to bring up with you through your meditation. Don't look back. So Calliope was the muse of the epic poetry, and then we had Erato, which was love. Not erotic love, which is eros, but love of nature, love of people, just love of all things of God. And then we had Melpomene, which was tragedy, and another muse was Thalia, comedy. So you have tragedy and comedy, you have black and white and darkness and light and yin and yang, and the very balances that are impacted by the magnetism of this age. Then you had Clio, which is history. And then we had Urania. Oh, I know, we had one I want to share with you. Now, a lot of you say, well, you know, I'm not into this mythology. Though at the end of your prayers you say amen. And amen is the name of the Egyptian sun god. But let me tell you something else. The myths give us one of the 9 muses, which was the muse of sacred song, is Polyhymnia, polyhymnia. Now, do you see the word here? Let me take poly away and ia away, and there's your word, hymn. And what do you sing when you go to church? Hymn. Where does it come from? One of the 9 muses of Apollo, polyhymnia. Thought you'd get a kick out of that. And anyhow, Urania. When you look at the word Urania, which was one of the 9 muses, you have to see the word Uranus. Okay? Now, when all of the activity began, the creation myth, the first thing that existed was chaos. Chaos existed all by itself. And then out of chaos came Gaia, the earth mother. Gaia, the earth mother, appeared out of chaos. And then with no intercourse, Gaia, the earth mother, gave birth to Uranus, the son of man. Now if you look in your dictionary, you'll see that the word Uranus means son of man. See? And it's interesting because in the Bible, Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Well, of course, the New Testament is written in Greek, and in the New Testament, the word for heaven is this, O-U-R-A-N-U-S. And here is the Bible telling you the kingdom of Uranus is at hand. And Uranus is now the ruling planet of the Aquarian age. And it's here. So the Bible is definitely fulfilled. Definitely fulfilled. And what did Jesus say about the Son of Man, which is Uranus, the Greek planet? He said in Matthew 24:30, "And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and the tribes of the earth shall mourn, and they shall see the sign of the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with great glory." Uranus. Indeed, Uranus. You know, when I think of Uranus, I think of the things that we have been raised with, you know, the different ideas and superstitions and myths that we have been raised with, and we wonder where these things come from. Uranus married Rhea, R-H-E-A, and they gave birth to a son, Kronos. Now, out of the word Kronos, you have the word chronological, chromatic, chronology. It's time. Time is the evil one. Time is that which destroys everything. And you know, it's interesting because when you go into meditation is when you free yourself from time. But anyhow, Kronos took a sickle and castrated Uranus and drove Uranus away from Gaia. Now, of course, Uranus has returned to claim his bride, but Kronos then became the ruler. See, so this is the thing that I wanted to bring to your attention. Do you remember? I know I'm going to ask you if you remember. I know you know this, but there's of course, the Christmas story that we've all been raised with, and in the Christmas story, the wicked King Herod is afraid that this child, the Christ Jesus child, is going to be raised up and overthrow his kingdom. So he goes around and kills all the little children, and then Joseph and Mary take the child Jesus to Egypt and hide him there until the danger passes over. In the story of Hare Krishna, when Devaki is about to give birth to little Hare Krishna in the cave, the wicked king Kansa was afraid that the child being born somewhere, and he didn't know where, was going to rise up and overthrow his kingdom. So Kansa went out, killed all the little children, and Vasudeva, who was the consort of Devaki, the mother, took little Hare Krishna, wrapped Hare Krishna, and ran across the ice fields and out of the way and took Hare Krishna away until the danger had passed. So here Jesus was taken to Egypt until the danger has passed. Hare Krishna was whisked away until the danger had passed. Well, Kronos, he was afraid that the same thing was going to happen to him. But you have to understand, this is all Greek myth. The reason the story of Jesus is in the Bible is because it's written by the same Greeks who wrote the story of Kronos. What's the story there? The story is that as Rhea was having her children, Kronos, now this is the very beginning, Kronos was afraid that one of the children was going to overthrow his kingdom. So he would devour each child as it was born. This is a myth now. So when Rhea was about to give birth to Zeus, she did something to protect Zeus. When Zeus was born, Rhea took Zeus and wrapped Zeus in swaddling clothes and stole away with Zeus, and then took a stone, wrapped a stone in swaddling clothes, and Kronos swallowed the stone, thinking it was the child. But Zeus had been taken away to the Isle of Crete, C-R-E-T-E, in Greece, until the danger had passed. Hare Krishna was taken away so he wouldn't be hurt by Kansa. Jesus was taken away so he wouldn't be hurt by Herod. And here we have Zeus taken away so he wouldn't be hurt by Kronos. And all of the other children are killed. And then, see, what happens is when Hare Krishna becomes, older, he returns and he kills the wicked Kansa. When Jesus returns, he places Satan under his feet. When Zeus returns, he dethrones Kronos. Now, you say, well, what's Jesus have to do with Satan? Because the name in Roman, as the cultures move, Kronos is Saturn. Kronos relates to Saturn in the constellations, which is Satan. So here Jesus overthrows Satan. Zeus overthrows Kronos. And of course, Hare Krishna overthrows Cancer. It's the same thing, the same story, given for every age, the universal story of the cosmos, the universal story that you must protect the child inside of you from the wicked king, which is the carnal mind. And so there you take the child into the land of meditation, up to the place of Pegasus, who then can carry you and the child out of harm's way. And then when you return, you can place that which is the wicked or the evil one, which is the lower mind, the lower thoughts, the flesh, under your feet. Or you sit in contemplation and gaze at the pond on Mount Helicon until finally that which is old is given a new birth as the flower. You know, there was one other thing, and you know, that's to me very interesting, and that is the identity of Zeus and Jesus. In the Bible, Jesus rides on the white horse. This was written by the Greeks. In mythology, Pegasus rides on the white horse. It was written by the Greeks. And the white horse that rides in the sky that carried them both is Pegasus. And how do I know that? Because Pegasus carried the lightning bolts for Zeus. And when Zeus was to take a lightning bolt and hurl it, take it from that container there strapped on to Pegasus, which meant simply that enlightenment, lightning bolts, comes from God, Zeus, through Pegasus. Enlightenment comes from God to you through the hippocampus of the brain, the place of memory, the place of Pegasus. And Jesus, according to the Bible, coming back, riding upon the white horse. And what does he say? How shall the coming of the Son of Man be? As lightning from east to west. So this is a wonderful time, because we have really been able to connect the intent of the ancient writers, that these stories were coded messages of myth that told us about the inner workings of the human mind, the workings in the universe, and how the two will come together through the wings of Pegasus, the workings of the inner mind, and the supernova 1987A, the single eye, and how the two come together through the words of Jesus in the Bible, who said, if your eye be single, your body will fill with light. And now the scientists telling us that from that single eye and supernova will come light upon the earth in the year 2002. And what will be the results of that light? The change, the restoration to memory, the restoration to understanding, a great confusion of those who do not enter within. But to you, I tell you, what else could I possibly do to prove to you what was the intent of the message given by these people thousands of years ago? And it wasn't necessarily the Greeks or the Egyptians. It was through them. But it was written by those from a higher dimension who teleported to this place and left with us these words of what is inside of you, what is inside of the brain of God, which is the universe, and how can the two be connected through the light receptor, which is the pineal gland in your brain, and there through the energy which you will allow to rise up through that winding passageway, the winding passageway, the spiral to Mount Helicon, the winding passageway known as Kundalini to the Hindus and known as the Book of Life and the Christians, the winding passageway known as the Via Dolorosa that allows the crucifixion of the flesh to take place on Calvary, which word Calvaria means the skull. Everything that you read, everything that you find in the Bible, in mythology, leads to one place, and that is a union with the universe, the cosmos, and that which is inside of you, the mind, the brain. So we have a lot of things to think about. We have a lot of things to do and to consider as we go along in our work. And you know, I just hope that in some way you will bring yourself to the point of saying, hey, wait a minute here. What's the sense of going to church, and what's the sense of reading New Age stuff and all of this if when everything I'm thinking or reading about is happening and I pay no attention? Pay attention to it. Become part of it. And enter into your meditation so that you may rise to the mountain of Helicon, the spiral, and there hop onto the back of Pegasus and ride up into the very bosom of God. That's what is available to you now. And it's coming through light beings through the universe. And it is available. And all you have to do is sit, enter into a dark room, close your eyes, and fly away. Thank you for sharing this time.